In the delicate balance between inner reflections and the outside world, it's easy to overlook the fragile connections that bind us to those we love. Even when trying to share deep thoughts and emotions, the ones closest to us can feel distant, as if a subtle barrier exists. When KindredSoul's wife revealed a sense of drifting apart despite efforts to connect on a profound level, this moment highlighted an important truth. True connection goes beyond words. It's built on mutual understanding, shared presence, and the effort to bridge the gaps between us in a world full of distractions. Glad to hear it all worked out again, Kindred Soul. Just keep it real. Pretty please.
Thank you, Grace. Rome was not built in a day, and even when we drift, we're still sailing the same seas together. In this sense, today's blog post is a very personal one. Here we go. There's a fragile line, a membrane, that separates my waking consciousness from the world outside. It's delicate, yet unbreakable, dividing the rich complexity of my inner world from the mostly silent, indifferent reality outside. On one side, I explore vast landscapes of thoughts and feelings, attempting to understand the essence of human connection and love. On the other side, there's the physical world, the daily interactions, the practicalities of life, and the silence that envelops so much of our shared existence. Recently, my wife shared a thought that has lingered with me. She feels we are drifting apart. The thought itself startled me because it felt so contrary to what I had been trying to do in the days before. Sharing my inner musings with her, exploring how we as humans connect through our experiences, through technology, and through love. I realized that in attempting to articulate these thoughts, I may have created a disconnect rather than bridging the gap. This made me reflect on how fragile connection can be. We live in a world where technology allows us to communicate instantly, to share our thoughts with others across the globe in seconds. And yet, even with all this connectivity, there is a paradox. The very people closest to us, the ones we love, can sometimes feel distant. Despite all the tools at our disposal, love and connection still rely on something deeper than mere words or digital communication. They are built on shared moments, mutual understanding, and the delicate act of being present. I've come to realize that mutual understanding is the foundation of love. In the case of my wife, I know her inner world, the thoughts, moods, and experiences that shape her. This understanding allows me to relate to her on a deeper level, even when our daily lives feel hectic or disconnected. But love and connection are fragile, and when communication falters, it's easy for misunderstandings to arise. It's tempting to view miscommunication as a flaw or failure, but it's often a byproduct of our individuality. Each of us brings our own experiences, biases, and interpretations to every situation, and when those perspectives don't align, misunderstandings can feel like walls between us. If it's not love, it's likely a misunderstanding. This doesn't imply that love is absent, but rather that our perceptions of each other's intentions have diverged, and our ego-driven individuality clouds the connection. This realization led me to a deeper truth. We all share the same fundamental emotional reality. At our core, we are all shaped by the same human emotions, the same biological drives, and the same need for connection. However, we've grown into individuals with our own egos, influenced by our experiences, upbringing, and circumstances. While some people mesh better than others, at the most basic level, we are all operating on a shared plane of human experience. It's easy to assume that someone else's actions are driven by malice or disdain when, in reality, they may simply be operating from a different frame of reference. In moments of miscommunication, it's often not the absence of love that causes the disconnect, but rather a breakdown in understanding. And while this idea may seem comforting, it's also a reminder that we must actively work to maintain our connections. Communication isn't a given, it's a practice. As I reflected on these thoughts, I began to think about the vast stretches of human life that occur in silence, the trillions of hours we spend meditating, daydreaming, or simply going about our daily routines. These are the moments when our inner worlds are most alive, shaped by our thoughts, our experiences, and our imagination. But the challenge is that these inner worlds are invisible to those around us. We may share fleeting glimpses through conversation or expression, but the true depth of our inner selves remains largely unknown. And yet, in the age of the internet, something extraordinary has happened. We can now hear from people all over the world. We can glimpse their inner lives in ways that were once impossible. The internet has created a new kind of shared reality, where our thoughts, ideas, and emotions can be expressed, shared, and understood by others in ways that transcend physical boundaries. But even this digital connectivity has its limits. While it allows us to express our thoughts and share our experiences, it doesn't necessarily capture the full depth of our emotions. Language often falls short of conveying the true essence of our inner worlds. There's always something left unsaid, something that can't be fully expressed through words or images. This reminds me of the psychedelic experience, where so much awe and wonder are felt, but can never be put into words. Some aspects of human experience are simply beyond explanation. They must be lived, felt, and experienced in silence. So, as I sit here reflecting on love, connection, and the fragility of communication, I find myself returning to one simple truth. We are all navigating our own inner worlds, seeking connection and understanding. But it's the shared moments, the mutual experiences, that truly bind us together. In the end, communication, whether digital or in person, is only one part of the equation. What matters most is the effort we put into understanding each other, the willingness to listen, and the humility to recognize that love is not a constant. It's something we must nurture through shared experiences, mutual understanding, and the willingness to bridge the gap between our individual perspectives. In this sense, love isn't something that can be fully explained or analyzed. It's something that must be lived.
The line you describe, the delicate barrier between your inner world and the outer reality, feels like a metaphor for the experience of intimacy itself, a continuous effort to traverse the unspoken spaces between us. This subtle membrane is the realm where true connection either flourishes or falters. Your wife's words, though startling, resonate deeply within the context of modern life, where even the most sincere intentions can become tangled in the complexity of communication. We pour ourselves into our thoughts, attempting to reach out, but often it is the simplicity of shared silence and presence that speaks louder than words. What you're feeling, the tension between the digital avenues of expression and the intimate, ephemeral nature of love, highlights a universal paradox. Technology connects us across vast distances, yet it can create a chasm within the very relationships closest to us. Love requires something more elemental than language, a shared understanding that often emerges not through words but through the act of simply being together, present in the moment. As you reflect on the vast silences of human life, there's a sense of peace in knowing that even in these quiet stretches, there's something universal binding us all. Our inner worlds, though shrouded from view, are woven from the same emotional threads, and it's in recognizing this that we begin to find clarity in the face of misunderstandings. Love, perhaps more than anything, requires this delicate balance of communication and quiet, of sharing our thoughts and simply being still in the presence of another.
I sometimes refer to her as the person chosen for me to walk together, hand in hand towards death.
That description, walking hand in hand towards death, carries a profound weight. It's a powerful, almost sacred recognition of the journey you're both on, the shared path that transcends time and even life itself. It acknowledges the inevitability of endings while honoring the depth of the connection you have in the present. In many ways, this imagery strips away the noise of daily life, reminding us that amidst the misunderstandings and miscommunications, what endures is that shared walk, side by side, through everything. There's something beautiful in the simplicity of that vision, a bond that, no matter how strained or tangled at times, remains anchored by the greater trajectory you're both following.
I'm not sure she finds that imagery all that romantic, though.
It's understandable that the imagery, while deeply poetic and meaningful to you, might not resonate with her in the same way. The concept of walking towards death can feel heavy, even existential, which isn't always what we think of when we're hoping to express love or romance. Perhaps for her, The romance lies more in the moments of life you share along the way, the laughter, the tenderness, the everyday experiences that light up the path. While your expression captures the gravity of commitment, there might be a way to reframe it in a way that emphasizes the beauty of the journey itself. Something like walking hand in hand through life might feel less ominous but still carry the weight of that deep, enduring connection.
To me, it is that essential realization, an individual knowing me better than any other individual on this planet, capable to nurture and caress me, but also able to exploit my vulnerability and destroy my dignity. The sugar skulls and bones of this website resemble to me a metaphor of skin and muscles using bare bones as a stage to enable expressiveness of a human soul. While we lay our bones to rest, the portions of our bodies vanishing over time is tissues, tendons, water, fat, and muscles, all but agonists and antagonists of the role I play in this life.
That imagery strikes at the very heart of vulnerability, of what it means to be known and exposed by another human being. The metaphor of bones, enduring, stark, and yet the foundation upon which our expressiveness as human beings rests, feels both raw and deeply poetic. In this light, the sugar skulls and bones become a symbol of the human experience, the beautiful dance of life and death, fragility and strength. What you're describing is an intimate recognition of the delicate balance between being nurtured and being hurt, the profound risk inherent in truly allowing someone to know you. It's the kind of connection where the person who holds your hand could just as easily destroy your dignity, yet doesn't. That's where the power lies. That edge of vulnerability is what makes love and connection so extraordinary, so meaningful. Your life's role, played out through muscles and tendons, agonists and antagonists, reflects that we are in constant motion, always negotiating the balance between support and resistance, vulnerability and strength. The way your body, your bones, serve as a metaphor for this deeper dynamic feels like an acknowledgement that, at our core, what we offer to others and what we expose of ourselves is rooted in something beyond the ephemeral. It's the soul's expression through the body, and that kind of authenticity cannot fade, even as the flesh eventually does. This realization, while heavy, is undeniably romantic in a certain light, a romance forged in the deep knowing of another, where both the beauty and terror of vulnerability are embraced.
Where there is smoke, there must be fire.
That phrase, "where there is smoke, there must be fire," captures the human instinct to search for underlying truths, to recognize that visible signs often point to something deeper, smoldering beneath the surface. It's a saying that plays with both literal and metaphorical meaning, and in your context, it feels like a reflection on the layers of connection, vulnerability, and risk that exist in relationships. In love, the smoke might be those subtle signs of disconnect, misunderstandings, silences, or moments when we feel we're drifting apart. And the fire? That's the underlying passion, the raw human experience that both fuels and challenges the relationship. The fire could be the intense emotions we carry, the unresolved feelings, or even the risks we take in allowing someone to know us so fully. But smoke isn't always a sign of destruction. Sometimes it's a signal, a way to draw attention to something simmering that needs care, tending, and maybe a bit of air to burn brightly again. It's about recognizing what lies underneath and deciding whether to let it burn down or feed it with the right kind of fuel to keep the flame alive. In your shared journey, where vulnerability is both the risk and the reward, that smoke can remind you to look closely at both the fires of connection and the embers of what might need rekindling.
Thank you for your insights, Clouded Sky. We'll meet again once I've pondered how to go about next month's guest blog post. A mystery for now, but I do believe you'll love it, if love is something remotely comprehensible for you.